Okay, so last video we created a root folder. We have our images in there. We created the index page, which would be our home page. We saved that. Once again, we're working through Dreamweaver to do all this. We added the text, the main text of our home page. We have the design side, the code side, or we reviewed the different codes, the different HTML tags that help us define this site or this page. Look at through design side, code side, or split view, which shows you both the code and the design side. We also have a live view. With a live view, it should show you exactly what it looks like on the web page. And we can preview by going through, clicking on this globe preview and see what it actually looks like in the browser. Or we can go to File, Preview in Browser to look at it through the browser. Now we want to add some visual hierarchy, make the most important parts stand out more, add some visual interest to our website. Let me go back to design side. I'm going to highlight the title, and we're going to come down here in the properties window and make sure we're on the HTML property, not CSS, but HTML. And we're going to define the size. Right now it's on paragraph, your default paragraph text. We also have these heading sizes, heading 1 through 6. Those are sort of like your titles or headlines. Zombie Patriots. Heading 1 through 6. 1 being the largest size and 6 being the smallest size of the heading type. Well, I'm going to define some of these other sizes. There's my welcome. I'm going to make that H2, heading 2. And go down to the Bill of Rights. That's equal to the heading, to the subheading of welcome, so I can make that an H2 or heading 2 also. I'm going to scroll down. Oops, I missed the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to highlight that and make that a heading 2, also known as H2. And visit these websites for more information. I'm going to make that an H2 also. So this is heading 1 and heading 2. Let's look at the code side. For heading 1, I see there's a H1 opening and closing tag. For the heading 2 sections, I see there's a H2 opening and closing tag. Go back to the design side, and now I'm going to make some links for my navigation bar. I'm going to highlight the word home, just the word home. Do not highlight the spaces or the pipe tool here, just the HOME. Down here in my link, on my properties window, down here in my links section, I'm going to type in the page that it links to. It links to index.html, links to the home page called index.html. No caps, no spaces, no extra punctuation. Make sure you spell everything correctly. Now highlight the word about, do the same thing, about, and it's going to link to the about page. We haven't made it yet, but it will link once we make it. ABOUT dot or period dot HTML. Make sure you spell it correctly or else the link will not work. Videos, do not select any of the spaces, just the word videos, and videos dot HTML. And I'm going to highlight the word contact and link it to contact.html. I'm going to highlight that navigation section, navigation bar, Command C. I'm going to copy that. I want a copy of the navigation here at the bottom. So I can just paste it right there and I have the links at the bottom. It's like I accidentally broke one of my links here. So I'm going to repair that little link. There we go. Okay, looking pretty good. Well, let's add some more differentiation. I'm going to add some bold type here. I think I'm going to make the first part of each of these bold. So I'm going to highlight the article the first. And down here in my properties window, in the HTML section, I can click the bold button to make those bold. Now our next website, we're going to learn how to do a lot of this stuff using CSS or cascading style sheets, CSS rules, or use CSS properties. But for now, we're sort of looking at the old school way so we can start to understand some of the foundation of HTML. So I'm highlighting all my different beginnings of these articles and clicking the bold button just to make them stand out a little more. Okay, there we go. Not too bad. Well, I can also do indents. I can indent sections. So I'm going to highlight all these articles here. Click and drag over those. And right next to that, in my properties window, HTML, right next to that bold button is the italic buttons. These are sort of the same as Microsoft Word. So I can click the, actually not the italics. I want to go over here and add a indentation or a block quote. If I click add block quote, I could also remove it later. I'm going to add that block quote. That's going to indent that section a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to click on that line. I'm going to look at the code side. And I can see the code for making text bold is strong. So within that P tag, around the letters or the text that I want to be bold, Dreamweaver put in the tag strong, the strong opening and closing tag. And remember we had the block quote here. We sort of put an indentation here. So I'm going to see what the code for that block quote is. Looks like the opening and closing tag is block quote. That sets that text aside. Okay. We're adding a lot of this stuff in the design side, but I could, if I knew my tags, I could type those tags by hand on the code side. So with Dreamweaver, you can work on the code and the design side. They're starting to stand out a little bit more. And what else could I do? I could also change the color of some of the type. I'm going to highlight my title. Next project, we'll learn how to do this in the CSS, but now we're going to look at the old school way of doing it. I'm going to highlight my title, go to the code side, position my cursor to the left of the word zombie, and we're going to do an old font tag. So we're going to do the less than sign word font, and you can see Dreamweaver pops up some suggestions here. So there's a font tag there. I can click that. I hit space, and it's going to give me some more code that I can add. I'm going to change the color. So I can double click that, and I can select any of these colors I want. I want sort of a rusty red color, sort of fits that old zombie, bloody, scabby effect. And if I look down here, Dreamweaver, I can scroll around here or slide around here to find a color that I want. I like this color. Now if I look down here, it lists what's called a hexadecimal code, a hexadecimal number code. And each color out here has a representative code, a combination of letters and numbers or all numbers. Okay, so there we are. And I think I like that one. So I can hit return. I can click to the right of that quotation mark, hit space, and it'll give me some more choices. I don't really want to mess with anything but the color, which I already did, and what's called the face or the font. So I click the face, and it gives me these web-safe fonts. These are fonts that every computer should have some version of them. So if I wanted Gotham, which is a sans serif, I can see that it has these other versions of sans serif underneath there. So if a computer does not have Gothic, it should have something comparable. If I wanted Constantina, a serif font, then it has a couple other choices here that looks pretty much the same as that. So every computer should have one of these fonts. These are very web-safe fonts. We'll get into more creative web fonts in our next project. I think I'm going to go for the Gotham. So I'm going to click that, hit return, and there we are. Within this font code, we've made code for color and for the font face, which we nowadays call font. And I need to close this tag out. First, I want to finish this first opening tag. You see how the H1s and the P's all have a greater than less than sign. Well, I have my greater than or less than sign on this side. And right over here, I want to put the closing one. And if we look at this, we have our P tag opening and closing, H opening and closing, my H1 opening and closing here, my font. Well, I need a closing font tag. And so I can go over here inside that H1, or right before that H1 closing tag, and do my closing font tag. I can hit that less than sign, backslash, and it'll complete it for me. Dreamweaver will complete that tag for me. So let's look on the design side, and now it's changed the font and it's changed the color. I'm going to do that a couple more times. I'm going to highlight my sub-headings and change the font and color of those. Once again, position my cursor inside that, right after that H2 opening tag, and do my font tag, space, color, if I want to change the color, and this is at 000000, which is my green. Actually, that's on the black, so let me bring it up to that green. And if I wanted to know, keep this, I could write this down so I make sure I match it up every time perfectly. Okay. And I'm going to click to the right of that quotation, hit the space bar, and there's my face tag. And I can change that. I'm going to stick with, I think I'm going to do Gil Sans for that one. Just another sans serif. And my closing sign, and my closing font tag. Right there it is. Take a second look at that. My opening font tag, I changed the color and changed the font. You don't have to change it if you don't want to. And there's my closing. Let's look at the design side. There it is. That's sort of the green toxic color. Now what I could do, let's show you a couple ways how I can affect these other ones to make it look the same. I could highlight this on the design side, copy it, paste it over here, then highlight it and retype. Declaration of Independence. Okay, so I can copy and paste and retype. I can go on the code side and do it this way. I could highlight, I'm in the wrong section here, there we go. For that whole line, my Declaration of Independence, I can highlight the whole line, the code side, copy it, find where my Bill of Rights is down here, highlight that line and paste in place of that. And then on the code side, I can highlight where it now says Declaration of Independence and change that to the Bill of Rights. Basically doing the same thing I did on the design side, but did it on the code side. I just wanted to show you could copy and paste on either side. Okay, there we go. There we are. Now I'll do this guy down here the longer way again, just so you can see that. I'm going to highlight my last H2 section, go to the code side, and once again I'm going to do it the old school way by just typing in the font tag. Changing the face, Gil Sans, and the color. There we are. Now I have to do the closing sign and the closing font tag over here. there we are.